Welcome into another episode of The Rebound. Courtney Cox here with Darren Hartwell, and welcome into another episode, Darren. This has been a weird week because the Celtics were gone for so long.
Yeah, back in the U.S., and really has not been many games.
No.
Been one game.
One game,
since
and
then.
it was not that great last night.
Still an exciting game, but
exciting
not good for the Celtics.
at the end. 116 to 113 was your final score. The Celtics lost to the Pelicans last night in overtime. From three, not so hot for the C's. They shot 19 of 50 from three.
50.
That was a 5 and a 0.
It's a lot of threes.
It was a crazy game. Al Horford talked about what went wrong and how crazy that number is after the game. Here's what he said.
That's a lot. No, it's a lot. I mean, I know, the way that's the way that the NBA is going now, but we'll have to look at the film and see what happened there. You always want to put pressure on the rim, and you want to take threes, but that is a lot of threes. But again, I'm sure Coach will talk to us tomorrow. We'll look at the film and we'll see what happened there and how come so many of them. But I just think that we got lured into playing the way they were playing. They were playing like very free, up and down, just jacking up shots, and we kind of got baited into that a little bit, and we paid for it.
So kind of interesting there. What did you see when you watched the game? They kind of looked like a different team than we've been seeing all season.
Yeah, you mentioned that. So many times we've seen them come back and pull off a come from behind victory. They did that in London. They were down by 22 points. Yeah. This is one of those things. Some of their possessions in overtime weren't really great. It was kind of quick threes in the shot clock. So they really didn't execute down the stretch. I guess you can't expect them to come back and pull off a win every time. So you give them a benefit of the doubt just because they've done so well with comeback victories before. But I think the story of this game probably is Anthony Davis.
Correct.
45 points, 16 rebounds, just really just a dominant force.
He had like 19 points with minutes to go in the first quarter.
Yeah, I mean he's pretty unstoppable. You saw him just they have no answer for him down low, and he can also stretch the floor. So really can do it all.
Now I forget we just did pretenders and contenders last week.
Mm-hmm.
Were the Pelicans on our list?
They were not.
Because they looked like contenders last night. They looked unbelievable last night. I mean, every shot that they took went their way. They were great on defense. They were stealing from the Celtics over and over again. It was interesting to hear Al Horford say, they kind of got us into playing their ball and not our ball. Yep. They were playing very loose, and it just was not working for the Celtics. Kyrie's three to was it to tie it or to take the lead?
Yeah, to take the lead there. Yeah. He
said it felt good. But then it was obviously.
Yeah, and I think, the Pelicans are pretty fascinating because DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis, that's, you won't find a better front court in the NBA.
Right.
That's an insane combination. They also have Rajon Rondo, who's still kicking around, but I think, their supporting cast is still nowhere near the level to get them to be an elite team, but they have those two guys. If something happens there, if they build around them, then that could be a team to watch. But obviously, a lot of other teams want Anthony Davis as well.
Absolutely. It was a funny tweet that one of our producers, Keely, put out yesterday. She said, it's Duke versus Kentucky. Oh, I mean Celtics versus Pelicans last night.
Yep.
And you could kind of feel that. Interesting enough, Anthony Davis and, of course, Rondo got a ton of cheers in the arena last night when they were announced during the starting lineup. So lots of fans there for them, obviously.
And DeMarcus Cousins getting some boos.
Always.
He's a good nemesis.
Yes. But when you talk about Anthony Davis with a trade, why would the Pelicans give him up?
Yeah, I think that's one of those situations where Anthony Davis kind of shut down the rumors, saying, I don't have anything to add to that. I think, if there's a big enough package that the Pelicans can get and it involves a lot of young players, I think they're still in the situation where they could rebuild. Obviously, Davis is also a young player, but I think, if there's like a Jason Tatum involved with the Celtics, that his name's been floated around, that'd be tough for the Celtics to give up. But I think it would have to be, like a mother load, I guess you could call it, of a package to get them to. And they're in a position of leverage right now because that they can set the bar really high because Davis still has a few more years left on his contract, so it would have to be a trade.
So something that's interesting is the Celtics, the next time that they are home is on Thursday against the 76ers.
Yep.
That is the team that they faced in London when, like Darren said, they came from behind, down 22. Is there concern here when you look at playing a team twice in such a short period of time? I mean, they played them 2 games ago, and now they're playing them again at home, which is obviously an advantage, but we saw that the 76ers weren't messing around in London. They're obviously not going to mess around in Boston.
They're certainly going to have an axe to grind after blowing a 22-point lead. Yeah, I think there's a familiarity there, but I think that could, that could go both ways. The Celtics maybe have found out what they did right in the second half or in the latter stages of that game. They can keep that going. Both teams will make adjustments, so I don't think there's necessarily too much concern. I still think that Celtics should take care of business, bounce back with a win. But Sixers are Joel Embiid. If he's full go, they're a tough team.
And we'll talk about Joel Embiid a little bit later for something he did off the court. Always a very fun thing to talk about.
It's a good tease.
All right, let's move on. Not even about the next game or the game after that for the Celtics, but we're going to talk about February 11th. I like to call this the tribute video that never was and never will be. A big fiasco, really, with the Celtics front office. It's Paul Pierce's night that night. Obviously, Isaiah Thomas was supposed to have a tribute video when the Cavs were in town in the beginning of this month. He did not play. He did not want the tribute video to be played because he wanted his family there. I understand that. So now everybody was moving towards February 11th, and apparently Paul Pierce had the final say with this one. Danny Ainge gave him the final say, and he said, nope.
So Isaiah kind of took the high road, I guess you could say.
100%.
He had the tweets. He tweeted out, just let Paul Pierce have his night. I no longer want to have the video tribute. Like, we can figure something else out. So I guess that was good on him to kind of settle that a little bit. But
what do you figure out, though? Like, is that video just going to get pushed to social media? Is that video going to be put away for a later date?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really too sure. You can see the tweet right there. He's just basically saying, it's causes some controversy. I just want them to focus on the retirement ceremony. But yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe it's just something that they do. Maybe the teams meet in the playoffs and the Celtics do something then, or it's just, the whole tribute video thing is just kind of like set aside. I mean, he did get a standing ovation the first time he came here. And he'll probably get a standing ovation again when the Cavs lineup is introduced on February 11th. Pierce's retirement ceremony isn't until after the game, so there's going to be some pregame stuff. Probably Isaiah, even if there's no video, Celtics fans will show their appreciation. So maybe that's enough. It sounds like right now, I think Celtics fans have made it clear how they feel about Isaiah with the standing ovation last time, so maybe it needs to be like less formal, I guess you could say.
Okay, so we got to talk about this in regards, though, more towards Paul Pierce, I think, because yes, Isaiah Thomas took the higher road. Paul Pierce kind of had some words to say about the whole thing, like what were they really honoring him for? And they said, he led us to the postseason. He said that's what people are getting tribute videos for. I think it's kind of a diva move.
So I can see both sides of it. I think Pierce could have been a little bit more accommodating, right? Because
starting lineups, do it during the starting lineups.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think from Pierce's perspective, he's looking at it as, Isaiah was here 3 seasons, whatever it was. I was here for almost 2 decades. I endured so many losing seasons, and then I finally helped the Celtics win a championship. Like, I was, he's one of the staples of the Celtics. You think of the Celtics in the 2000s, it's Paul Pierce.
Right.
Over the last 2 decades, you think Paul Pierce. So I think just that longevity. He also mentioned how he's kind of been talking to other former players, and they've all encouraged him to kind of stand his ground. Like, he talked to Kevin Garnett. When he was on TV on ESPN and made those comments, Chauncey Billups was, basically on air. It was like, you should definitely get your own night. Like, who's Isaiah Thomas? This is your night, and this is something that clearly means a lot to him. So I can see that, wanting to have his own night, wanting to have everything, go for him. I think it's just kind of a unfortunate situation that, maybe Thomas and maybe the Celtics didn't realize, weren't thinking ahead that, okay, if I don't do this on January 3rd, the next time we come back is Pierce's retirement ceremony. Some people might be skeptical that they weren't aware of that, but I think that's a reasonable explanation.
I completely agree. If you put Paul Pierce and Isaiah Thomas up against each other, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
You can't. That's apples and oranges. But do something for the guy that played unbelievably well for us just last season, played after his sister passed away, literally that night, and did a lot in the community as well. I think we forget about Isaiah Thomas was kind of everywhere, and he didn't ask to be traded.
Yeah.
It is not a Kyrie Irving situation with Cleveland. He wanted to be on this team, so maybe he wanted to be there for decades. The Celtics didn't allow that to happen. So, it's just... I also feel really bad for the editor, whoever cut that footage. We all look at tribute videos when we're in an arena drinking a beer, and it looks great, it sounds great, it gives you goosebumps, maybe you cry like me.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of work to do that, and whoever cut that video is probably like, I spent however many months putting this thing together, and it might never see the light of day. I do think it will surface somewhere, and I really hope it does.
Yeah, I think they have, they can get creative with it. I mean, honestly, I think the playoffs, obviously it depends on a lot of different factors, but that's not necessarily far-fetched in my opinion.
Playoffs, I don't want to honor a person on another team.
That's a good point, but I think if you do it, before game one or whatever it is, then you get it out of the way. Or they just do it next year, or whatever. They tweet it out or post it on Facebook or something.
Not the same, though, as on the Jumbotron at the Garden.
That's true.
I think, honestly, it should have happened during starting lineups. But we are not Danny Ainge. We are not in charge of that. That is above our pay grade.
That's why they pay him the big bucks, I guess.
Right. And I would not want to be in charge of doing that in any way. Yeah. But while we're on the topic of Isaiah, we got to talk about the Cavs. Yeah. Some trouble in paradise, I guess you would say.
Yes.
An up and down season. In the beginning, we were like, this team is brutal. We always say, they're playing bad, but they will come back. Then they did, as we saw. We're back on a low right now. And a lot of people are saying that it's kind of problems internally with the team.
Yeah, so I think it was 9 of 12 they lost when it was ESPN.com, Dave McMenamin, cited some Cavs players off the record saying there's growing discontent in the locker room, and they're kind of in doubt that they can, weather the storm as they normally do and bounce back. I mean, there have been some issues. The biggest issue, I think, is defensively. They've given up a ton of points recently. They're one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA right now. And Isaiah Thomas, unfortunately, isn't helping that just because he is kind of a liability based on his size. They have an old roster too, so there's concerns about fatigue going on down the stretch. So yeah, they're in trouble right now. I think a lot rests on LeBron's shoulders, and then you have the possibility of LeBron likely leaving in the offseason. That's a unique factor that wasn't there in the previous seasons.
I also think it's great when you look at a team as a whole when they have so much star power and all these big names. There's also a lot of egos that come with that, and I'm sure if you have all this star power and you're still not winning, you're like, what the heck is going on? Yeah,
it points fingers a little bit, and then obviously there's the Thomas dynamic with Kyrie.
Right.
Kyrie was on the Cavs last year, and now you're replacing him with somebody else. Obviously, there are other people, like Jay Crowder was also involved in that trade. But one source in one of those stories basically said, IT is so much worse defensively than Kyrie.
And that sucks.
Yeah, I mean that's like putting IT on blast a little bit, but that's. I mean, it's not too far from the truth, but the whole issue of how Kyrie left requesting a trade, is everything starting to break down a little bit, I guess is the concern, and it's valid.
All right, well, let's talk about probably the biggest story of the past week, Clippers-Rockets. It was kind of everywhere.
Oh, it was wild.
I mean, the police presence, oh my gosh, who was in a fight in the locker room. Also, I think it's interesting. I mean, obviously, I've never been outside of the Garden to see locker room-wise, but locker rooms are usually pretty close.
They are.
So I think if a fight happens between two guys in the locker rooms, they can hear, that could cause chaos beyond belief, which was kind of the case here.
Yeah, and the TD Garden locker rooms are pretty close to each other. So
right across the hall.
Right across the hall, yeah. And so it all started during the game with, Blake Griffin seemed to be kind of the lightning rod.
Yeah.
You know, he was brushed Rockets head coach Mike D'Antoni, and he was getting into it with Trevor Ariza, and then Austin Rivers on the Clippers bench also kind of chirping at Ariza. Ariza didn't like that. But yeah, the whole situation with the Rockets players, James Harden and Chris Paul too. Chris Paul is the president of the Players Association.
Bad luck.
Going through a back hallway to get into the Clippers locker room because he's played for the Clippers and knows like the secret entrances. It's just it's kind of crazy. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's kind of very entertaining from our perspective to see all this going on.
Right. Well, there were a lot of crazy parts involving this. In your opinion, what was the craziest part?
I think the craziest part is this whole Clint Capella situation where while the 4 Rockets players were going through that secret entrance, Clint Capella was coming in the front and like knocked on the front of the door. So people were saying he was like the diversion to like distract the Clippers players.
Right.
And I guess like some Clippers player like opened the door, saw Clint Capella, who's like a pretty tall dude, and then just shut the door. And then like around the same time as Chris Paul and Harden and Ariza were like sneaking in the back.
Yeah.
It's just like,
I think my craziest part is something that didn't even happen in the locker room, but Ashley Brewer, reporter out in LA.
Yep.
She tweeted out who she was told got into an altercation.
Yep.
In the locker room. A security guard told her who was in the altercation. She tweeted it out. You and I have both been in those situations where you hear something, you want to get it out as soon as possible. If it's a security guard, you're probably going to trust it, especially if you're around all the same security guards every time. They know what they're talking about. They're around. And she got put on blast. In her Wikipedia page now, it basically says that she like tweeted false information, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. She is a female. And that was where people went to me. Like, someone said, how would she know? How would she know? She's around them all the time. She's in the locker room. Yeah. Just because she's a girl, I'm in the Celtics locker room after games.
Yeah.
We're all there.
It's just you're getting information from somebody and you're passing it along.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just think that kind of grinded my gears a little bit because I think if Woj had tweeted it out, nobody would have said, "Oh, well, how would he know?"
Yeah,
no, he's not a player either.
It's all about who you're used to seeing break news. I guess is the situation. But. Yeah,
but I mean, it was like my entire timeline was about it.
Yeah, and a lot of players weighing in too.
Tons of players.
I especially like Blake Griffin's tweet.
Yeah, let's pull up Blake Griffin's tweet if we could.
Yeah, he's got it's a GIF or GIF or whatever you want to call it, but just kind of.
He's causing chaos and then leaving the scene.
Walking away. Exactly. Yeah. That's
also Joker. This is like my favorite movie of all time, so I loved it.
Yeah.
JJ Redick also took to social media. I feel like I need to do an emergency pod explaining the schematics of the Staples Center locker rooms, which is helpful.
Yeah, that would be great. He's a former Clipper and. Great. He has a great podcast, by the way. Kyrie Irving was on the other day. A lot of interesting stuff in that one. But yeah, he still hasn't done it as time of recording. He has not broken down the schematics of the Clippers locker room. So we're still waiting on that, JJ.
I feel like he's going to do it, though, and it's going to be very well done. Like, it'll be something that will definitely be trending.
Yeah, he should get some Clippers players on the podcast. Break it down. Maybe
draw some drawings.
Yeah, we need some diagrams. Obviously, it's a podcast. But maybe there's a visual element to that too. You can get something out of this.
Yeah, I do think though overall, tons of fighting in the NBA. I feel like every week there's a huge fight that breaks out. People are getting ejected. Is that good for the NBA or bad for the NBA? Because you look at NHL. NHL fans love a good fight on the ice.
Yeah.
NBA fans seem to get pretty fired up when it happens on the court as well.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think just the more drama, the better. And also a lot of these NBA fights, it's a lot of just kind of like posturing, and then nobody, really, as long as nobody's like seriously hurt, or it's not like a Malice in the Palace situation where players are going into the stands. I mean, I think the more drama, the better. And then you have the whole social media thing with people, players chirping at each other after the game. I think that's just going to draw people to watch. And, that's fine by me.
I was saying this to somebody the other day, that if you look at the ratings for just TV as a whole, reality TV gets the highest ratings. making sports into reality TV is genius. And that is exactly what these fights, these social media battles are doing, because people are like, oh, this person hates this person. Or did you see what this person said about this person? It's brilliant.
I think it all comes back to the offseason too. Like all these moves that happen in the offseason, you're pitting people against each other, like Westbrook and Durant and Kyrie and LeBron. It's just, it's going to create more drama. It's good.
Yeah, well, with the bad parts of NBA fights to the good parts of what NBA players want to do outside of basketball. Well,
inside of basketball.
Inside of basketball as well.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant is very vocal about the fact that he wants to be part of purchasing an NBA team after his playing days.
Yep.
Which I think is great. You see that happen a lot. Michael Jordan with the Hornets.
Yeah.
It makes you kind of stay with the game, and after you're playing, you still kind of feel like you are playing.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing about Durant is that, you know, he kind of wants to take agency, like give agency to players more. You know, you look at, you know, Michael Jordan is a majority owner, but other than that, like in the owner position, there aren't any other former players who are in that position. You know, you have like Magic Johnson, he's kind of in a basketball operations role still. So I think, you know, it's kind of players, you know, ex-players after Durant's done, just like taking matters into their own hands. And then if you have, you know, former players or owners, that creates a whole different dynamic with the, you know, the players that are on the teams in terms of negotiating salaries and all that.
Absolutely, and it's like I've been there, so I know. So it makes it easier for the players.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously owning an NBA team is a lot easier said than done. And I'm sure 100%. There are a lot of hurdles that, you know, it's going to take. Probably he's going to learn a lot of stuff. There's going to be a lot of roadblocks, but, you know, if he can pull it off down the road, it's great.
Well, it's interesting that Durant wants to become a owner after his playing career, but another current NBA player, you may have heard of him, Steph Curry, would like to become some type of owner for the Carolina Panthers. He's always made it very clear that he's a Carolina Panthers fan. He's gone and done the drum.
Yep.
What do they call that?
Keep pounding?
Keep pounding, yeah. I lived in Charlotte. I should probably know that. Yeah. But he loves that team, and I think that this would be an awesome move. But it's hard because he is also an NBA player. He's not talking about doing this after he stops playing. He's talking about doing this now because they are looking for new ownership. I think that would be a lot on somebody's plate. He can't be at meetings. He can't be traveling with the team. He can't really put all of his time and energy into it. Obviously, he'd have partners in it, but...
Yeah, it's also basically the same. The seasons overlap a lot.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's just his, you know, financial contribution, but that doesn't really seem like, you know, a guy like Steph Curry would be more of, you know, he'd be more involved, or he'd be kind of like a figurehead or a guy who does a lot of appearances on behalf of the Panthers, things like that. So
and they love him there.
Yeah, they love him. So I mean, I think it's a great idea. I guess you have to figure out how that would manifest itself. Maybe it's like a Durant situation where he just waits until after his playing days.
LeBron has ownership in Liverpool.
Yeah, that's true.
So
I mean, it's just a matter of how far you want to go. You know, obviously, I think it's P. Diddy who wants to own the Panthers and is kind of leading the charge, and I think Curry was like, yeah, I want in too. So maybe
like the Dolphins. I feel like everybody owns the Dolphins.
Yeah, it's like J-Lo and Serena Williams.
Serena and Venus, I think, both.
Serena Williams, yeah. So just you know, get some stake in there and see what happens. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess
let the
makes
agents
more
figure
sense.
it out.
All right, let's do our social media winners and losers of the week before we say goodbye. Let's start with the loser, Joel Embiid, getting into a little bit of a confrontation outside of an Eagles game.
Yeah, not cool. The Eagles won too, and he was not.
And this poor guy is like joking around. He's like, "Oh, watch this! I'm gonna catch this ball and push Embiid."
Yeah.
No, you can't do that.
Oh, and the thing is, you know, you're dealing with Eagles fans too. Probably not the best idea to be going down, and you know, Eagles fans are notorious for being pretty antagonistic. So, but I guess it doesn't sound like there was too much fallout from it.
Because they whisk him away right after.
Yeah, and it's good for those guys to get him out of there, but you know, not a great look.
Not trusting the process.
No, that is not.
No.
Distrust of the process.
Right. All right. Well, I'll let you take the winner.
Yeah, the winner. You know, I think was it last time we had Al Horford and Amelia Vega with another baby, and this time a much younger Celtic player, Jason Tatum, is now a father. This was about a few days ago. I think it was over the weekend. He posted on Instagram of his newborn baby.
Yeah.
And he put a little Ducat on him too. And so
Did you even know that he was seeing
in a
someone?
position to have a baby?
Well, obviously anyone could be in a position to have a baby, but I didn't even know that he was expecting, or
that his partner was expecting. No,
Yeah.
I didn't. I feel like I missed the boat on that.
Yeah, very hush-hush
Kind of
there.
snuck it by us. So, I mean, yeah, I guess that's this has been something he's been working on for a while. So, and as they say, but yeah, it certainly he seems to be taking everything in stride. It's been a pretty eventful rookie season for him.
You're telling me.
Yeah.
If I was 19
Yeah.
and having a child, I would not know what to do with myself. I'm 26, and I don't think I'd know what to do with myself.
Yeah, he's winning at life right now.
He is.
Yeah, we
He
got a
is.
ways to go.
Well, congratulations to him.
Absolutely.
And Joel Embiid, straighten up. Come on. Your Philly fans need you to do that.
Yeah.
But that will do it for this episode of The Rebound. You can follow along with Darren on social media at Darren Hartwell. Is there an underscore?
There is an underscore.
There is an underscore. Darren underscore Hartwell. I'm usually so good at that.
I'll get you.
Or myself at Cox Courtney. Keep it locked in right here, NESN.com. We have all your NBA coverage all through the season and in the postseason.